Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk. I'm your host for tonight's show, Coach Kevin Bull Jones. And tonight's show, I got a special guest, a dear friend of mine, a man that's been in coaching for a long time here in Metro Atlanta. He is a legend to all of us in the football arena here in Metro Atlanta in the state of Georgia. But more importantly, he's been a positive, excellent example and role model of high school coaching today's youth. My friend, a man that I've known for a very long time, Coach Ron Gartrell, head coach at Stephenson High School, joining us tonight. So if you like the show, please come in and join. Coach Gartrell, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Coach Jones. I really appreciate you having me on.
Listen, man, I'm just gonna call you G because that's just my name for you. That everyone watching this show tonight, that's just my name. I'm gonna affectionately use tonight because for so many times that I've had a chance to talk to you, just knowing now or recently of everything that you've done in over 37, 38 years of coaching high school football. 1983 it started. And now we've got to over 240 wins, 10 region championships, 7 times, making at least the quarterfinals or better in your career. Having so many NFL players, currently 9 that are on contract, but you've had over 20 players to play in the NFL. I'm sure there's more in those numbers. But the thing that I'm intrigued with and fascinated with the most, because it brings joy to my heart, is over 250 kids that have been under your tutelage that you helped to get into college. Coach, how did you do it all?
Well, I didn't do it all, but we set that goal a long time ago, and with the help of other coaches, Coach Corey Johnson and Coach Keneal Kempson and Sellers and those guys, we entertained a lot of college recruiters. And early on, we took our kids to schools for camps, let them see what the atmosphere was like, let them see what the coaches are like, so they won't be afraid of the moment. And it's helped us tremendously with helping to get kids into schools.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, I remember I was at Redan High School coaching at the time as defense coordinator. And when you left Shamrock High School, where he had a great couple of teams there. Of course, Jeff Saturday played with with the Indianapolis Colts, University of North Carolina, hopefully future Hall of Famer. But I just remember those teams, Maurice Douglas at Shamrock High School, when I was coaching at Columbia High School, and then having a chance to watch you when I got to Redan High School and watching you and the teams you put together from scratch back in the mid-1990s at Stephenson High School, which, of course, was our back door as far as locations of schools, and the magnificent job you did just being able to create a program, a gym in DeKalb County with so many wins and so many players. It was fascinating. It was a joy to watch because for us, and I say us, I mean us young coaches growing up, we looking for, a lot of times I'll say this, a lot of guys don't admit it, but they do look for a model of excellence and or consistency and success in coaching because they want something that they want to aim to try to be like. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would encourage young coaches to try to do it the right way. Don't try to be too successful right off the bat. I really didn't want to be the head coach at Shamrock. The principal had to come back 2 or 3 times. I told I came to DeKalb County to be a basketball coach, but she talked me into it. I took the job and just decided that we're just going to do things fundamentally sound. And 2 Super Bowl champions came out of that, Jeff Saturday and Cozy Coleman, who ended up playing his last year at Southwest because Stephenson closed. But we had a great run on some athletes at Shamrock. And then when I took over got the job at Stephenson, we decided to go young. We didn't have a senior class. The first year, we started 14 ninth graders that first year. We won all our games except 9, and we that probably went over some people's heads, but it's to tell you a short story. The kids after our last game, we won our first game ever at Stephenson, beat Druid Hills. We lost 9 in a row, and I'm standing there after the last game, talking to the team, and kids were crying and feeling bad, and so I told them, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna tell you, people gonna ask you what happened, and or how did you do, and if they ask you how did you do, just tell them you won them all except 9." And I said, people don't listen to what you say. And many times I've told people we won all of them except 9, and they were, "Oh, no, that's great. Y'all did a great job," But we started young at Stephenson, put things together. Coach Sells and I decided that one thing we were going to do, we're going to coach our kids up. Our kids, we want them to be fundamentally sound, regardless of their athletic ability, regardless of what kind of super athlete they are. We forced them, coach them up to do things fundamentally sound at every position. And, it paid off. It started to pay off real early. And by the time those 9th graders became seniors, we were starting our run at winning a lot of football games.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, I'm gonna read off the names, and it's just amazing. Jeff Saturday, of course, I mentioned. Kosi Coleman, Craig Lumpkin, Mike Davis, Reggie Ball, Marcus Ball, Kelvin Shepard, Montez Sweat, Bruce Irvin, DJ Wanham, Perry Riley, Preston Smith, Jermaine Cunningham, Kenny Ladler. I'm just running off names of players that have played to the highest level, and people that made it to the NFL and had really good collegiate careers at big time schools and things of that nature. But there's one kid that and I'm not asking you to be like that father and pick which kid was the best or which one reminds you of this, that, and the other. I don't want to go there because that's hard. That's hard when people ask you. And I know reporters always want to know who was the best athlete. I get that, but you know me, I don't want to go there. I want to know just a standout person as far as maybe not just what was on the field, but just the character, because that's everything. As I've learned from you as well as from other coaches that I had a chance to look up to.
Yeah, well, when people ask me about my favorite player, I always tell them my favorite player was my son. He's he's an all-time great. I coached him up real well. He did a good job for him. But there was one guy that
receiver.
Yes, wide receiver. He ended up going to Georgia and playing a little bit. Got his degree. Came by the house yesterday with his wife and his twin, his daughter, and his son, who will be 4 years old tomorrow. So got a chance to be with them a little bit yesterday, and like I said, he's my all-time favorite player. But there was another kid that ever since he's been out of school, I think he graduated back in 2003 or something like that. But he calls me quite often, and I got his graduation picture right there on my file cabinet. He never missed a practice. From the time he started as a 9th grader to the time he was a senior, he never missed a practice. And we blew out a lot of people during that time, and we couldn't get him to go in the game. And he just said, "Coach, no, I don't want to play. I don't play." But he was at practice every day. He was one of the best wrestlers we've ever had at to come through Stephenson. Yeah. And he invited me to his wedding. The other day when the article came out, of course, who FaceTimed me, early in the morning with his three kids, and just happy go large. So, but he's a motivational speaker.
Oh wow!
And one thing that I regret is we didn't get a chance to get him back to speak to our kids. And but I'm gonna get him to do something for me down the road because he's anxious to do so. But you don't come across kids like that who are committed to the team, committed to the coaches. A student, probably could have went to school anywhere he wanted to. Single parent, mom was very important to him. So those are the kids that I enjoy the most when it comes to talking about. Those guys you called their names out, they were very gifted guys. But,
Yes.
we put our guys through the ringer. It's not like we just sit on star athletes or great athletes. Our kids
Right.
work. Coach Ball. A
Oh, yes.
lot of people know Coach Ball. He's been my strength and conditioning coach for 20 years or more,
Right.
and
Very,
he
very good
runs.
wrestler. Very
Oh,
good
oh yeah,
wrestler, too,
oh yeah,
at Avondale
Avondale
High
High.
School.
That's
Yes.
right. Believe me, he let us know that all the time. Uh, but he's a great motivator. He's a great strength and conditioning guy,
Yes.
and he worked miracles for us. And then I hired Corey Johnson back in 2007, 2008. Corey played for me at Shamrock. Went on to have a shot at the NFL. Played at Texas Southern. His claim to fame was his college roommate was Michael Strahan. But
Wow.
Corey came in, and we was getting a lot of kids signing. He said, "Coach, I can take over this recruiting thing for you, and probably put a little bit more mileage out there, getting kids to visit schools and getting college recruiters in here." So I let him have that. And I think first or second year he had it, we had 29 out of 31 of our seniors to sign scholarships. And so it hadn't only been me. Uh, it's been what the people that God has blessed me with to have around me to keep me going. Uh, they don't let anybody bother me. They don't let anybody talk about me. They do, but they don't let anybody else do it. And I'm well protected. And I love all those guys, and that's been our secret to our success. To be honest with you.
Well, you mentioned a couple of names that I know very well, but one that stands out for me is Donald Sellers, Coach Sellers, because my first job ever at Avondale High School, and I tell you, that was my first job coaching back in those years in the '90s, and he was there, and his attention to detail was unbelievable, and I had a lot of time spending with him talking football, learning football, and talking about the whys and the little things that mean so much about success. And we worked under a great man who was a mentor of mine, Coach Christopher Beal, who's since retired, but a magnificent man. And watching Coach Sellers and how meticulous he was about his secondary and how things supposed to work back there was priceless for me because uh, honing my skills as and learning how to work in that system, and then going to Columbia to work with Coach Ron Seabury was just truly fascinating. And we got a chance. You and I got a chance to coach against each other when you were at Shamrock, and those amazing teams, bruising teams, should I say, because it was an unbelievable physical game. But I mention that because it's people like Coach Sellers and yourself and those coaches. I needed those people to help steer me, and here's the amazing part about it, Coach G. A lot of times it's not what you said, it was just how you conducted yourself. See, and that was
Right.
the amazing part because I had the chance to watch you work, and I was impressed with the intensity, but it wasn't verbose. It was truly a controlled deal that we saw on the outside. And I'm a young coach trying to figure out which way or what style am I. I got a chance to watch yourself and Coach Sellers, and those things touched my life, along with a couple of other coaches, Coach Beal and Coach Seabury. Those things meant a lot. And I think sometimes when you look at the young coaches, and you have had the blessings of tutoring a very good staff, what has been the key ingredient for you as a coach to guide those guys?
Well, setting an example. I mean,
Mm.
when we have meetings scheduled, early morning meetings or workouts or after practice meetings, I'm gonna be the first one there. And I require my coaches to be there at practice. I want to work hard at practice. It's everybody looks up to somebody,
Right.
and I want my coaches to be able to look up to me and say, Coach treated me right. He gave me an opportunity. and I let my coaches coach. I don't overcoach. I let my coaches coach. A lot of times you don't see me doing much because they're doing the work. And Coach Sellers has been outstanding. You know, Coach Sellers and I started coaching together in 1983 at Washington Wilkes High School. And for the 2 years that we worked at Washington Wilkes High School, we never attended a varsity football game.
Oh, wow.
I was the middle school head coach, and Coach Sellers coached the linebackers on the varsity. And on Friday night, Coach Brooks, the head coach, would send us to the next opponent to scout the next opponent for the varsity. Back then, some coaches, it wasn't mandatory that you make exchanges with tapes. So Butch didn't believe in exchanging tapes with film with other schools. So we had to go scout. So watching people like Larry Campbell and some of the other coaches down in that area perform week in and week out, going into their backyard and watching them play and drawing up all this stuff, it gave us a great opportunity to talk about what we would do if we become leaders of a program. If I got a job, I'll hire him. If he got a job, he'll hire me. And we learned a lot of football. And those 2 years, with Washington Wilkes making the playoffs every year, we probably went and scouted 30, 40 games.
Wow.
And the great Thompson teams with Jerry Mays and those guys. And, even when I grew up, I played against Eddie Lee Ivey and some other those tough guys too. So.
Wow. Did you tackle him, Coach? I mean, did you hit him for a hit for loss, Coach?
No, he put me in the hospital when he did. And he didn't put me in the hospital, but I'll tell you a story about a quick story now. And I know we got to go, but my first year as a sophomore on the varsity, Eddie Lee Ivey was a junior. And I was the punter. And it started pouring down raining. That rains, you can see the big drops, and I'm back there getting ready to punt the ball. And the guy snaps the ball over my head.
Okay.
I run back, pick it up. I'm maneuvering, thinking about what I'm going to do. And I said, just kick it. So I punt this thing, Coach Jones, and it was a spiral that was so sharp, it was cutting through the rain. Eddie Lee Ivey was back there to return it. It went over his head. I got excited. I said, wow, this guy, he goes back and picked the ball up on the 1 yard line and runs it 99 yards for a touchdown. And I'm the last one back there, and I couldn't catch him. But Eddie Lee was a tremendous athlete, and he's just one of those guys that, man, you're just glad the game's over, and he didn't tear your heart out or something. But yeah.
Now it's funny you mentioned that, Coach, because when I look at some of the great teams that you've had, and even watching the big games, the games against Douglas and Southwest DeKalb, and the national televised games against teams from Florida. I mean, those are what coaches live for, get a chance to be in that arena. Coach, you've had a chance to do all of that, and it's been wonderful. Me myself growing up in DeKalb County, and you having so many wins in DeKalb County, and you and Buck Godfrey and other coaches from DeKalb County that have stayed the test of time in the county. I really salute you all, because there could have been any time that you could have left to go get some other jobs, to be other places, but you didn't. Expound on that for me, Coach. Tell me why you did go.
Well, I never left because, money and big time things like that never really excited me. But, I wanted to be in a situation that we were in. We were blessed to be in a situation, like you said, to play in such big games. And I think that's the reason a lot of our kids worked as hard as they did, is because they know that sooner or later we may be televised, or we may have a big game. And we played in games at Hartford Stadium where you didn't see any concrete. I mean, it was so many people there. But it's exciting. We really cared about our kids and pushed our kids so that on Friday nights they can enjoy it and not embarrass ourselves. So, but we took a lot after Southwest DeKalb. When I first came into the county as an assistant coach at Stephenson, Southwest DeKalb was absolutely rolling.
Yes.
And Buck Godfrey was a guy that I looked up to. You know, I studied him. He didn't know it, but I studied him, the way his team prepared, the way they warmed up, the enthusiasm they had, the speed, the size. You know, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to get to that level, and we got there quicker than what I thought we would. But you know, those are the games that you look forward to. You may not ever get a chance to play for a state championship or win a state championship, but when you give your kids an opportunity to play in high school, to play in front of 5, 6, 7,000 people, and watch themselves play on television, I think and get scholarships. That's probably the next best thing.
Coach, it's funny you mentioned that because that leads me to another thing that I wanted to bring up. And I've been dying to chat with you about this because in my years of coaching and getting a chance to be a head coach and going through, I'm trying to identify not my why, but the purpose. And so many people concentrate on the wins and losses. And even there have been times, you know, with all the success that you've had, people and you know, the naysayers, everybody wants to say, you know, Stephenson has the greatest athletes in the world. But you know, those I had to learn something about how people frame coaching. And it finally helped me later because when they had the Super Bowl here, it's called, we had a clinic on inside out coaching by Joe Ehrman, who used to be a former player back in the 70s and 80s. And it talked about transactional coaches and transformational coaches. And I finally understood where I was in that picture because transactional coaches were all about winning, and it was about them first and their accolades and the next win and the next status and the next position, and everything was focused on winning. And the player wasn't up at the top. And the only reward the player got was to start or be praised by the coach and hopefully get the wins. But the transformational coach was the one that helped boys become men. It was all about the players. It was all about their development. It was all about helping them become productive citizens in society. And those were the things that when I finally read this book and went to this clinic, learning how to help young boys grow into men and how to deal with the whys of life. It finally got to the point, Coach G, that I found out where I was in this picture because it wasn't all about the wins on the field, even though there has been wins, but it was about those kids that meant a lot to me and their development. And through that, I mention that because in defense of you in so many cases going to clinics and stuff like that, and you never knew this, but it's just me and you talking now, and that's why I can mention it because nobody can hear this but me and you. But I love the fact that you were always focus was helping boys become men. And I watched how those players would all come back. And it wasn't just homecoming goes, Coach Gartrell. It was regular games. It was events. It was things that came back. Those young boys came back as men when they came home from colleges. And the pride of getting scholarships to go to school, kids being single parent homes. I watched you develop that. Myself being from a single parent home. So I watched you develop that. And a famous line, I don't remember where I read it, but state championships don't pay for tuition. State championship rings don't pay for tuition. I don't know who said that. I'm sure you probably remember which one, if anybody, that you have said it, but it made a lot of sense because at the end of the day, when the game is over with, what have those players gotten out of being with you? And that's magnificent. I watch how these guys love you. And the transformational coach is what I thought of myself. But more importantly, when I watched all these kids you put through school and helped get to school, Coach, you changed a lot of lives. You know, because that $150,000 to go to college is a whole lot of money. And it's even worse when you don't have a scholarship and you got to pay the money back because you had to take out loans. So, Coach, I applaud you for that because I didn't understand, but I finally got it. And it was at that when we had the Super Bowl here in Atlanta. We had a clinic for coaches, and it was talking about inside out coaching. And that was the first time I thought about you because I was trying to figure out. I said, there's something powerful about leading kids into men. And my hats are off to you because that's profound. When I get a chance to see some of your former players and listen to them speak, it means a lot to me because I haven't been in the game as much as you have been in the game, but the legacy of men that have families, that's the joy. And I relish in the fact that you gave a picture and a model how to get it done in your own way. And then I get this book and it says inside out coaching, meaning you're turning boys into men. Coach, I just think that's fabulous. I think that's one of the greatest gifts that you didn't know you gave me, but I learned it from you in just the things that you did. And you touched me one time. I was really upset. I want to share this with you. We were at a camp, and I don't know if you remember this. And I was in my feelings because we just lost state championship game, and I think somebody mentioned it. And I was in my feelings and just walking around amongst coaches. We had a break in dealing with the kids at the camp. And I never forget what you told me, Coach. You said, Coach, there are a lot of men that never get a chance to be in that position. So appreciate where you've been and appreciate your lives you touched. Coach, you told me that. We were at a camp one time. I never forget it. It was a long time ago, but that just lets you know how much I remember what you left with me. And I'll never forget that, Coach. That made me feel good. You kind of eased my pain because I didn't know how to handle. I was embarrassed we lost to a great team. It was a great moment. And you helped me get through that. And I don't think you ever realized I never mentioned it. All times we talk, I never mentioned it, but that was big in my life. And I get a chance to help people now. And it's just fascinating that you left that with me. And I don't know if you realize that came out of your mouth at that particular time, but it made all the difference for me because I still need a little counseling losing on that last play against Alvin Kamara, against Norcross. I need a little therapy, Coach.
Hey, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It'll stick with you for a long time. But you know what? The good outweighs the bad. So, everything will be fine.
Coach, last two questions. Tell me what if you had your two questions. One, what is the biggest difference between now when you started coaching and the coaching that's going on today? Give me the two biggest things that stand out as a difference. And the last part of that question is, if you had three coaches to coach with that or maybe deceased or NFL or people that previous, in another life, who would those guys be?
That's a good question.
I worked on that one for a long time.
Oh boy. Now your first question was the difference in what coaching is like now and when it was when I was coming through. When I was coming through, very few black coaches were given opportunities to be head coaches, except in metro places like DeKalb County and maybe Macon, Savannah, Albany, places like that, where high schools were predominantly black or that kind of thing. As time has passed, more and more coaches, young black coaches, have gotten head coaching jobs. But I think it's hurt our profession for black coaches in a way because it put a lot of pressure on those young coaches, and some of them have faded away. They started great. You knew they were going to be a great coach, and they faded away. And I think a lot of it had to do with, you can't let people build you up to the point where it takes very little to bring you down. I feel like my foundation is on a rock. And no matter what you say about me or complain or whatever it may be, it's not going to break me down.
Wow.
And that's what I try to encourage my coaches and my players. That you're going to have ups and downs in life, and sometimes you're going to get knocked to the canvas.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to have to take the count may reach 10. You may have to stay down, but you got to get up off the canvas and fight back. And you fight back by just working harder and doing things that other people don't do. They don't want to do. It's too hard. But coaches have changed. Things have changed quite a bit. I was one of those young black coaches that got an early start.
Okay.
As a head coach, 28 years old. That's when I took over at Shamrock. And I was blessed, Coach. And these are people you know. I had Cookie Ramos.
Cookie Ramos. Knew that was
I
coming.
had Mikey's. I
Right.
had Bill Chadwick. I had
Yep.
Curtis Frazier. I had
Curtis
people
Frazier.
on my staff. That were older guys who understood how to discipline kids and work with parents, and brought me through and trained me on how to do certain things.
Wow.
None of them wanted a head coaching job. Their head coaching days were over.
Wow.
But they saw some talent in me, and I give them a lot of credit for my success. And how well I did at Shamrock was due to the fact that I had a really good, experienced coaching staff. And there were things that I used to feel like, hey, man, let's let him get away with it this time. Let's not punish him, or let's not say anything. It was absolutely no.
Right.
The kid had to pay for the things they did through
Yes.
either conversation or through extra physical work. And but that kid never went home without us telling him that we love him, to preaching to him why we did it. So
Wow.
coaching has changed, and I think now we're more into trying to satisfy the public, trying to satisfy the parents, trying to satisfy the community. And I didn't care whether the community was happy or not.
Wow.
My care came with how that kid feel and how he felt when he left our program. And that was the main thing. My concern was directly with the kids. That's why a parent, you never heard me have issues with a parent.
Right.
We're
You're
going to
right.
do things. And the way, coach, you do that is you don't show favoritism.
Okay.
Your star has to do things the same way. The guy that missed practice. I mean, we treat them all the same way. Mike Davis has been punished like crazy. Even Marcus Ball, even my son. If you
Right.
screw up and do something that you're not supposed to do, you got to be disciplined for it. And
Amen.
you'll find out after a while, after you start disciplining the guys that means a lot to you winning or having a successful program, it builds
Right.
everybody else up. And all the other kids start playing better, working better. But I think
Wow.
that's the biggest thing in coaching now is young coaches, you got to be real careful about why you coach.
Mm.
I never accepted a job where I never had an interview, and had many, but where the principal asked me to win a state championship. Never.
Oh,
And I
wow.
don't know how many people have ever been interviewed where the principal or whoever was hiring you said, we want to win a state championship. And I didn't get into coaching to win state championships. I
Amen.
got into coaching to help develop young men and help them get an opportunity to be successful later on in life, building that foundation.
Wow.
And it started with me early. There was a math teacher in my high school that was taking his brother, we were both seniors, to Carson Newman College for a tryout. And he asked me if I wanted to ride along. He said, I'll pay for your food. Don't worry about the travel. Don't worry about putting no money in. Taking my brother up there, just come go with us.
Right.
And I left Carson Newman with a scholarship offer.
Amen.
And, you know, and this was a white guy. And I said to myself then, if I can help anybody get into school, not knowing this was going to happen, like it
Right.
happened, but if I can help one kid to get in school on a football scholarship, that'd be great. But it turned out that God blessed me to have hundreds of them.
Yes.
And but I'll never forget, why I'm doing what I do, who I am, and who I represent, and I'm always be that way.
Amen. That's amazing, Coach. Next, second part of that question, give me two coaches that maybe they're deceased or maybe they're retired, or two coaches. I always wanted to coach with Eddie Robinson. There was just something about him. I got the chance to see him back in the early '80s at a game, and there was something about the aura and the presence of him that kind of gave me goosebumps. I always wanted to coach with him when I got into coaching. In my mind, that's who I was coaching with. Give me two who you thought of or were on that level.
Well, I really don't have anybody. If I had to pick somebody, like I said, I looked up to Buck Gartrell a lot, more than he thought I did. I think, hopefully, he didn't think I was just a opponent who wanted to kick his butt. But I really wanted to build a program similar to what he had built. And when you look at the two programs and you compare them, there were times in ours that we looked like Southwest DeKalb. And
Amen. Yes.
So Buck will probably be one of them. He'll probably be totally shocked to hear that.
Oh, he's got to see this. I got to make sure he sees the show. All his players see the show. They're watching right now, so I'm like, I'm look, hair standing up on my arm on this one.
He's a great man, and
yes,
he believes in a lot of things that I do. A lot of things he believes in, I believe in the same thing. But the other guy is probably I don't know whether he's deceased or not, but my high school coach when I was a sophomore and a junior was a guy by the name of Harold Burnett. And I just thought I would go to war for him and play as hard as I could for him. I started for him as a sophomore and a junior, and then he left for another job. But he served in Oconee, he coached in Oconee. I'm sure he's retired. I'm not even sure if he's still living. But one of his mentors was Jeff Herron, who just went back to Camden County. That's something that me and Jeff have in common. Matter of fact, we played Camden the first time in a playoff game, and Coach Burnett was there. Came down on the field and spoke with him, and but I just would just put my best foot forward for him, and he would probably be the guy that I would enjoy being on his staff, because I still do things that he did when I played for him, and but he left, and then that I wish I probably could have worked for him as a coach.
Amazing. All right, last question, Coach. I didn't know when I talked to you and was asking about. I wanted to get you on the show. We sat there and talked, and Coach, I didn't know that you had stepped down after all these magnificent years as head coach. Because for me, like I said, you've always been that constant visual of stability and consistency. So when we talked and talking about coming on the show, I had no idea. And I found out later when I of course the media, media outlets and I at first I felt a void, like I told you, because big brother it's always good to have little brother needs big brother sometimes, and especially when you become a head coach, and I've had several stops places, and they're still part of my learning process that I'm still learning, even though I think defensively is where I lay my hat. But I'm talking about the total coaching, the total leading of a program. I still want to learn more. I never want to stop learning. But Coach, when I got the news, like I told you, man, I just felt like my big brother had left, because you were still reachable. And I want to let you know that I respect everything that you have been a part of as far as coaching. And I want to know your final words on your legacy that you would like to, and I know you're a humble person, Coach, but I'd like to know what you would like your lasting legacy to be, uh, as far as coaching football and the illustrious years you've had doing it here in Georgia. What would you like your legacy to be?
Well, I would like to think that I treated everybody right. Uh,
Mm,
my mom and dad were my heroes, and they raised me in a way in which you respect people, uh, you help people. Uh, God showed me a sign a long time ago that I was going to be a coach.
amen.
And
Amen.
um, I can tell that story on another show, but
Yeah.
I just like for people to know that I gave it my all. I was
Amen.
there every day, um, at every practice, at every games, and I hired good people because I didn't hire coaches. I hired good people. You can
Mm,
teach somebody how to coach, but you can't
amen.
teach them. You can't teach them certain things that involves being successful as a coach. But
Amen.
most people gonna say that my legacy is getting kids in school and playing college football, but it goes beyond that. We got doctors, we got lawyers, we got
Mm,
college professors, we got ministers, we got all kind of people who have graduated in our program that's gone on to be more than just a football player. And
amen.
the football players can tell you we preach that it'll be your meal ticket for a while, but sooner or later you got to learn how to earn your own meal ticket, and
Amen.
you use this sport or any sport that you may be involved in to make way for living a successful life. You know,
Yes.
I can't play this game forever, but some of the things that I feel like I've accomplished over these years, you never see me pat myself on the back because there
Yeah.
are so many other people involved, and I don't know what my legacy gonna be. I always think that it's up to other people to write the legacy of someone. So I don't know what my legacy is gonna be exactly. I do know that people have um, felt that it was successful because of the people I've gotten in school, the amount of games we won, and that kind of thing. But you and I both know that
Yeah.
it's not divided by one. It's
Yes,
it's
sir.
not one divided by one. It's you know several divided into several, and
Amen.
I've been given um, an opportunity to help other people, and I think that's what I think people should know more or know about me is that helping other people has been my biggest concern.
Amen, Coach. And with that said, I just want to let you know, I believe that you have truly passed on the baton to coaches like myself and so many that was on your staff and people that if you've had the opportunity to tutor, whether you thought you were tutoring them or not, they were learning something from you. Um, uh, but the peace and the nobleness that you have always communicated to me and always pick up the phone when I call. If you're too busy, you always got back to me. Coach, those little things just mean something to me. And I just want you to know that I take it upon myself, like a lot of coaches, to be able to continue that consistency and you can watch us work and be proud of what we're trying to get accomplished because we've had great people such as yourself and other coaches to model. And I mean that affectionately because it warms my heart to be able to talk to you tonight. I was so giddy about it because I just wanted to talk and I want to thank you for everything that you've done. And I want to be able to tell you that, hey, listen, you've got an army of men that whether you directly or indirectly, whether you know it or not, coach, you've done your job has been well done. Gee, I appreciate you. Really do. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and It means a lot to me. And like I said, I've been knowing you a long time, and our offenses just have struggled against your defenses all every time we played you. But I've enjoyed both being competitive against you and at the same time being your friend.
Thank you so much, Coach Gartrell. Thank you, G, my big brother G. Thank you for being with me tonight. And thank you for all those that had a chance to watch. If you enjoyed the show, please share. Thank you for so much for joining us tonight on 100 Yards of Football Sports. Thank you. We'll see you later.
Peace.